What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon, joined today by a face I'm sure you'll recognize if you're a big rugby fan. You're following along in the world of the rugby YouTube space. You know this guy. This is Rich from the Rugby Analyst channel. Thank you for joining me today, Rich.
Not a problem. I mean, we've just literally sorted out Wales, haven't we, on
I
my channel? So
done in one minute.
oh,
It was easy to do. But as Rich
unbelievable.
said, yeah, we've done a video on his channel. You can go check that one out. I'll leave a link in the description for this one to go check that out if you want to hear about Wales and all the fine fixes we've come up with. But today, Rich is a man who knows a lot about England and England rugby. Now, England have had the similar issues to what Wales had leading up to the World Cup last year, but I think it's fair to say post World Cup have done a lot better in terms of where they've got to. So I thought Rich is the guy to talk to about England and how they've got up to. So, Rich, first question: how do you feel they've got on so far since the Steve Borthwick era of rugby for you?
Well, I mean, you can look at it in both ways. You're a little bit conflicted in a way because you've lost both games in New Zealand, and you could say that New Zealand are probably the least coordinated they have ever been, and will be in the future. So this was the chance. If you're going to beat them in New Zealand, this was the chance. So there's that disappointment that they didn't win at least one game, because international rugby is about winning, isn't it? But performance-wise, it's exciting to watch them again. That's the thing. For the last, few years, under Eddie Jones, last couple of years, and the first year under Borthwick, it was, or the first, a little bit under Borthwick, it was fairly painful to watch. It got more effective, but you wouldn't exactly enjoy it particularly. But now they're playing with a bit more attacking flair in the backs. They know what they're doing, and it's exciting. You're looking forward to watching some of these players play with genuine excitement. Going, I can't wait to see a Faye Wabusu player or Marcus Smith, see what he can do, or Chana Cunningham South. So there's that kind of buzz again. I don't think they're at the top table yet, but it's exciting.
Yeah, well, I think for me, there's two eras. There's two areas so far of the Borthwick. I think the Six Nations where he took over leading up to the World Cup, like you said, it was quite a grind to get through, and I think maybe he had more of a vision of, I can't fix this before the World Cup. I just need to read the Eddie Jones playbook and go, how can we just get through the World Cup with this for now? But it really feels to me like since the World Cup, since we got to that Six Nations, he's really tried to put his own stamp down on the team. Would you say that's fair to say?
I don't know. It's an interesting one because, I mean, from his history, Borthwick has been a fairly conservative coach. The way he started with England, he didn't go, "Oh, this is the way I want to play." He's obviously tried to play fairly conservative. I wonder if it was his plan all along to open up a bit more, or he simply looked at the players and said, "We need to do more," or some of his coaching team and the senior players have said, "We need to do more." I'm kind of leaning towards the latter rather than it was his grand plan to ditch Freddie Stewart all along and go to George Furbank. I'm not sure that was the case. I guess it was forced on him a little bit with Owen Farrell leaving for France. I would be amazed if he hadn't stuck with Owen Farrell, if he hadn't stayed. So I think there's a little bit of, I'm not saying it's bad coaching, bad management. I'm just saying there's a little bit of fortune in there, or a little bit of chance, and a little bit of adapting to the situation. But he has adapted. He's not stubborn. He's not the kind of Eddie Jones, my way or the highway. He will adapt. But I'm not putting all the praise in his court just yet.
I'm sure he'd disagree with you, though. I'm sure if you ask him in a press
No,
meeting, I'm sure he'd say,
I
"Oh,
don't know
this
if
was my plan all
I don't
along."
know if he would actually. I think he's quite honest. I think he might say, "We've adapted to the situation. We've seen what's worked, what hasn't worked." Um, but yeah, no, I think he's an honourable guy. He's he's definitely into England 100%. Is he that maverick genius coach? Maybe not, but do you need that? As long as he's listening to people around him, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how they've gone. Like you said, it is interesting to look at the idea of that they've lost. They lost both games against New Zealand, but that round two they lost to New Zealand by a point, and you go into round three, they're in the lead at halftime. And I really at that halftime mark, I thought they're on for this. They just got to keep this together. Maybe if Bowden Barrett wasn't still on the scene
Mm.
and could have changed that game up, I think England could have been on for certain. So there's a new structure that's come in. What are your thoughts on the new defensive style of play? This massive blitz defense rushing off the line. I've always had a fear that they would gas out about 60 minutes. There's so much energy being put into that defensive work. When it started out in the Six Nations, it felt rough, I think would be fair in the first few weeks. And I was thinking, has they gone down the wrong avenue here, or is this just an adjustment period? I feel like as it's gone on throughout the Six Nations and getting into the summer, I think most of the players now are sort of setting up, this is the starting 15 we're aiming for, these are the players we're going to be looking for, and they're adjusting to that system well. And it feels like a system that's doing well against, New Zealand, who's still a very top tier team, if they're in their own little bit of restructure there. But for me, I think it's been working pretty well. And I'm liking to see how players are settling into it. Like you said, maybe it's a bit more, he's finding the players that fit that style, or maybe he's adapting the style to the players that he has to hand. I'm not sure which one it's more of. What are your sort of thoughts on that style for them?
Yeah, well, I mean, the new defensive coach has clearly got an idea of how to defend, and it's high risk, high reward. It's very exciting. When it goes wrong, it looks like the worst system in the world, and when it goes right, it's like, oh my God, you just stopped, New Zealand playing. You've shut them down completely. So it's one of those. It's kind of a averages. On average, we will get more out of this system than we will lose, but we will occasionally leave a massive hole and get made to look stupid, to be honest. So if they go for it, go all in, and they're going all in, and fair enough. Slade's doing pretty well, shutting out the outside at 13. I feel like Tommy Freeman could be an excellent guy who could do the same from 13, because you need more than one practicing it. But yeah, you've got to be great at your decisions, and definitely much better in New Zealand. So, a plan, even a bad plan's good if you go all in. So go for it, go all in, and see what opposition do, because it gives the opposition something to think about, doesn't it? Do we go deep and try and go around it? Do we try and go over it? Do we try and chip? Do we play tighter? Do we change the way we normally play? So go for it, see what happens, go for it, and it's not going to be boring.
No, well, I think New Zealand is a team still in the world of rugby where that system, they have the capability of on the fly being able to adjust to the pressure. But I think there's so many teams, even in the top 10, in the rankings, I think there's so many teams that would actually really struggle to adapt that quickly to the pressure, or see a way out of the situation they're going. I think New Zealand are unfortunately maybe one of the teams that are the David
Yeah,
McKenzies of the
but
world, the Bowden
luckily,
Barretts.
luckily we were catching them when they were, in their first game, and they're desperately trying to play the systems they've been coached, and that's the time to put them under pressure, and it really worked, especially in that first game. Sorry, we were catching the playmakers, we were catching Geordie Barrett, we were catching McKenzie as they tried to not adapt because they're trying to play their new system. So and we didn't win. So that was the time where that system could really have paid dividends, and it didn't.
Well, you mentioned an interesting point there when you talk about Henry Slade, because the centre partnership is one that's, I think, is up for the. Obviously, you said Farrell's gone now, so the 12 slot sort of opened up. There's Ollie Lawrence, you've got Joe Marchant, you've got a couple of other lads that are looking at, do you go Slade at 13? Is he going to sort of do that playmaker style? Who is the centre partnership you see going forward? Who are the two you say, these are the two lads I want to see 12, 13, because I think it fits this style?
The problem is we don't have them. We are very slim pickings here. 12 wise, we don't really have a power 12. There's a couple of guys coming through. Zach Wimbush is very young. Exeter, he's a massive guy. Ollie Hartley was having a really good season for Saracens, a young, powerful 12, but he got a bad injury. So otherwise, I think he should and would have gone, or certainly should have gone. So they've had to convert Ollie Lawrence into 12 and he's a 13 really. Like, he's a bit like Manu Toalangi, if you like, who could play 12 but didn't want to. And Lawrence loses the ball a little bit in contact, but he's the best we've got. You've got Slade, who's super skillful but not the quickest, getting on a little bit. And we don't really, Joe Marchant's not coming back by the looks of it. So I think we have to really shuffle Tommy Freeman in from the wing, but they won't want to do that because you can see what he can do in the air. And he's a big, strong lad. So we're in a bit of a pickle there, to be honest. There is no answer.
What about 10? Marcus Smith, the 10 for you? I mean, Finn Smith, I feel like Finn Smith didn't get as much time as I was hoping to see to being able to actually have time on the pitch and see whether he could turn at 10, because they've also tried Marcus Smith a couple of times at 15, or whether just to be the reserve 15 if the worst happens during a match. Is Marcus Smith the guy you're saying next World Cup he's just going to be the 10 for England?
Well, I hope so, because he's got the ability, hasn't he? He's you don't have to rush Finn Smith through because he is very young. So if Marcus Smith can calm down sometimes, manage the game, not chip the ball away if he sees nothing on, he's a bit impulsive. That's the thing. He can see if it's not going anywhere, he'll do something a little rash. But he's got the skills. He's got the running game beyond anybody else we've got, better than George Ford. So between Smith and Ford, I think one of those two can start, and Finn Smith can be the understudy. I don't think there's a rush. But if Marcus Smith can get it right, and he made some big strides in New Zealand to do that, he is the talent. He is the man who could turn England from a good team to a top level team.
A couple of other players that is sort of stepping up. I think there was some talking points, and I think I've seen it in your comment sections. I've seen it in my own comment section. One of the lads I thought improved over the Summit Tour was Itoje. I think there was a real feeling that he shouldn't be in the starting 15 anymore. A lot of people seem to have the view that he was petering out. I've seen a massive step back up from him in the summer international. Is there who are the players for you that have said, even though 2 losses to New Zealand, but slim losses, who are the lads that really felt like, oh, they've taken a big step up for me over this tour?
Yeah, well, Itoje is all about freshness, isn't it? When he's fresh, mentally and physically, he's still world class, no doubt. When he's not fresh, he looks a bit tired, basically old and tired. But when he was fresh, fantastic. Last 20 minutes in the second test, he was a nightmare because he blew up fitness wise. So I think it's fairly simple for that. Keep him fresh, and he's good to go. Who else stood up big time? Well, viewers of my channel will know I've got a lot of time for Chandler Cunningham South. He's a rough diamond, but he's an absolute athletic beast, no doubt about that. A very special player. And then Emmanuel Fayewabusu, very, very excited about him. Just super busy, working, nightmare for teams, powerful, jinky. Doesn't have to start every single game potentially, but he's class. And I've got a lot of excitement for George Furbank. Has made huge strides, just ridiculous strides from his first caps for England, where he looked like completely out of his depth, to now a player who's got a fantastic counter-attacking game, passing game, kicking game. His tackling is really stepped up. Yeah, he's been class. Massive loss in the second test.
Well, Fayewabusu was, we just the discussion we had on your channel about the Wales team. I mean, he had that option. The option was there for the Wales England thing. And one of the positions we got stuck on was right wing. Who plays right wing for how much would Wales love to have a Fayewabusu out on the right wing?
I think I said this before a while ago, but the people that a Wales fan should be upset about is not Fayewabusu. It is the medical school in Cardiff who he couldn't get into. He couldn't get into a certain medical school. So he had to go to Exeter, and he's like, well, my life's here now, my club's here. It would make sense to play for England. So if he'd stayed in Cardiff and gone to medical school there, I'm pretty sure he'd be playing for Wales.
Well, opportunities open up. There's Zammit, another right winger. There's a totally different sport opens the door.
His dream is to play in the NFL, not to play for Wales.
Well, for what is it, $5 million a year?
That's my dream now. Yeah,
I'd have a crack at NFL. I probably wouldn't be very good at it, but
he's doing well. To be fair to Reece Zammit, he's doing really well, changing his sport, giving it a really good crack. But I'm sure Welsh fans will be watching it, going, not too happy about that.
A wider topic that I'm not going to be super clued up on. I saw your video talking about the under-20s and England doing well. Is there one or maybe a handful of players in that under-20 squad where you say, we're still 3 years out from a World Cup, 3 years a good time for those players to progress onwards?
Absolutely.
Is there players in that where you're saying already, you're like, I can see that guy taking this shirt for the next World Cup? Who are we keeping an eye out for in that England team?
Yeah, I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. England's World Cup win was because their pack was the best pack in the world at under-20s level. It was frightening. It absolutely minced Ireland. It minced France in the final. Even in the first, England were terrible in that first half. They literally couldn't do anything right, and they still outpowered them. So It's all about the pack, and that's what England seniors need, isn't it? In the front row, Pocket for Jaw. We don't know if he's going to, he's switched back. At Sale, he was tight head. Now he's a loose head for England under 20s. I think he'll probably stay at loose head because he's not the biggest guy, but he is box office. He can scrummage. He can do everything around the park. He will play for England at some point. I expect him to be in the squad before the World Cup. Then their hooker's really good. Wright, their hooker, he's a really strong guy. They've got 3 really good tight heads. Billy Seller from Bath, Fazgbon as well started in the World Cup final and just destroyed the French scrum. Second row wise, you've got loads of second rows. Joe Bailey's good second row from Exeter. Sodeke is a youngster at Saracens who's a beast, and the best of the lot is Kapoku. Junior Kapoku. He's down at Racing 92. He's only 18, so he's got another year under 20s, and he was still probably their best forward. I don't know if the World Cup could be too early for an 18-year-old potentially, but he is absolute class. But he's going to have to come back and play in England at some point, of course, if he wants to play. So yeah, I mean, and there's other players as well, but front 5 wise, I'm pretty sure all of those guys I've mentioned will play for England at some point.
Yeah, well, that front row especially. I mean, Joe Marler and Dan Cole, age-wise is certainly creeping up there. This might be the perfect time for some youngsters to say, "Oh yeah, we could see ourselves slotting into that team now." Well, to finish off then, Rich, because I know rugby gaming is a big thing over on the channel over here. Are you a rugby gamer? Have you ever sat down and played some rugby games? You've ever been? Could we get you into Rugby 25?
Okay.
Could we get you?
Here's the answer. No. I haven't played computer games for ages since I've become an adult. No. What I was Jonah Lomu rugby all the way. When I was a teenager, that was literally the best game in the world. I don't think there's been anything better since. Simplicity, loads of cheat codes. Jonah Lomu rugby original, unbelievable. If you complete the game, did you play it?
I was before my time, Rich. Before my time.
You can still get it, I'm sure, on PC somehow. And if you complete, obviously, Jonah Lomu, you can hand off the whole team. You'd go round, hand off the whole team, double back, and hand off the whole team a second time and still score. And then if you completed it, you got a bonus team, which was all the software developers. And they had one winger called Mather who could run a whole loop of the pitch and then a second loop of the pitch and still score. That's a computer game. Oh, they had one player who was 3 times bigger than anyone else, and he would just pile through them all.
Well, there we go. Well, I think a lot of people would join you in Jonah Lomu. It's still regarded up there. Basically a seemingly argument online is that between that and a game called Rugby 08, which was another one that a lot of people like. But that mention of the team thing, and there was another game. I think it was Rugby 2006. I think, and again, you could unlock effectively like the development team as a rugby team. And I remember there being a team called Swordfish, and that again had a winger who you would literally do figure eights and run around with. That's the stuff you want in a video game, right? To showcase.
It's not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be fun.
There you go. You want to sit down with someone who's never played a game before. You be the best team and just beat them 100-0 and go. There we go. That's why I'm better than you. Well, thank you for joining me today, Rich. If we can ever get you onto Rugby 25, if the game ever comes out, because there's still a lot of discontinue about that. But if we can get you on, we can get you back into the wonderful world of rugby game. But thank you for filling us in about the England rugby team, Rich. It's been great to see you. Anything you want to add before we finish off?
No, thank you for having me. It's been fun. Yeah, no, we sorted out Wales. Now we've sorted out England. It's all good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me, Rich. Thank you to everyone who's taking part in the video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I'll put all the links and stuff for Rich's channel, but no doubt all of you are already subscribed to Rich because he's absolutely master on YouTube. He's got some fantastic rugby content on there. Spends far more time and effort doing a lot of research compared to me. So thoroughly enjoy your content, Rich. Thank you for joining me today. We'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.